So welcome to all of you from Geeta Dharma Mandal. So we continue on the series of sessions on specific topics which are linked to today's life and the application of the principles of Bhagavad Gita to today's life. Now this itself is not known to many people, as we know that Bhagavad Gita is considered as a philosophical, spiritual, religious text which happened as a narration between Sri Krishna and Arjun thousands of years ago. So, general view of people of our age group and the age group below is that it is an old religious text. But we are doing this of studying and applying to today's principles with contemporary examples so that the evergreen principles of ideal way of living can be understood and we can also imbibe in our living. So, last time we covered a very important topic of effective communication. It is only gaining more and more importance in the information age, where everything starts and ends with communication. And we now go on to the next topic, which is effective execution skills. So over here, one phrase that we have been using since last year when we began is of direct importance, which is Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha, which means Sri Krishna is telling Arjun that at all times remember me and do your war. So over here, we all are in the war of life or of execution and taking on so many responsibilities. And over here, this particular statement of Sri Krishna should always be kept in mind. So now let us understand in today's world what is the book definition of execution or what is considered as good execution. So effective execution skills involve the ability to successfully translate plans and actions into plans and ideas into action, achieving desired outcomes through efficient and effective task completion, organization, and resource management. So this sounds like a lot of English. Let us break it down. So हमने जो टॉपिक का नाम रखा है effective execution skills. Let's look at each word. So execution is, as we all know, is getting something done. From basically eating food to traveling somewhere to even watching a movie is also an execution. Okay. Now, where is the effectiveness part? Effectiveness is needed where you have to manage and organize the resources that are needed for effective execution. So, execution can be a very simple thing, but where there are multiple resources involved, where you have to take the help of things beyond your basic organs or your basic senses, over there effectiveness becomes important since you have to collate, make a plan, and have an order to doing those things. What are skills? Bringing all this together and effectively executing a task as per the required quality and within the required time, and any other parameters that have been agreed before the start of the execution. The next level of difficulty or evolution for execution is as we grow in life, in age as well as stature, our execution involves being responsible for effective delivery of not only activities that you do yourself, but for activities of others, which can be reporting relationships or even personal relationships. Hence, developing that approach of going beyond individual contribution is essential in the early stages of life so that we can take on the responsibilities, the higher responsibilities that come with age and changes in life. So just like we covered communication and many aspects before, during, and after communication, now let us begin what precedes execution. So as we all know, some kind of a strategy, some kind of a plan is what precedes execution. But अगर देखा जाए कि in a success, generally what matters more is an effective strategy and planning, but more importantly, execution matters. अभी क्यों? Because whenever something great has been achieved, many times the plan was to make something good, do something, get there, वहां पे पहुंचना था. But something great was, let's take an example of Sachin Tendulkar. Okay. When his coach Ramakant Achrekar was teaching him how to play cricket, how to hold the bat, the basic requirement was that he wanted to go and play cricket because he liked to play cricket. It was known in the first few months that he has some good skill, a good high-end coordination, the ability to spot what the bowler is bowling and hit accordingly. लेकिन ये था स्ट्रेटेजी और प्लानिंग का पार्ट. But what happened over the next 24 years when Sachin played for India consistently and has scored some 35, 40,000 international runs? It was all great, successful execution day in, day out. There was hardly a plan that Sachin would go and retire at the age of 40 or whatever he did after 24 years of international cricket. So that is just a example where generally when there is a lot of success, it is about excellent execution and less about planning. Hence, we should be focusing on that more. Only a mediocre planner and a poor executor will spend more time in planning. जनरली क्या होता है कि अभी कॉर्पोरेट्स में भी there are teams and there are functions which are for planning and looking around. Okay, so वो थोड़ा सा formalize हो गया कि planning is a matter of importance. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But whenever something good or great has been achieved, which is beyond the plan, that has always been through successful execution. Let's take another example. आप सबने बाहुबली मूवी देखी हो. Okay, अभी उसमें वो जो कालकेय का वॉर दिखाते हैं. If you see the few days before, in the camp, the mother and the two sons and their सेनापति, they are planning so much कि वो लोग कैसे आएंगे, कहाँ से प्रहार करेंगे, तो ऐसा फॉर्मेशन करते हैं, वैसा फॉर्मेशन करते हैं, उसके बाद कौन कहाँ से जाएगा, कौन यहाँ से आएगा, the distribution of weapons between Bahubali and Ballar Dev, and whatever happens. Okay, then what happens in the war? वो जो एकदम परफेक्ट युद्ध रचना की होती है स्ट्रॉन्ग डिफेंस की, बिकॉज दे आर नोन टू बी इन्वेडर्स हु अटैक वेरी वेल, within some time that all crumbles. Okay, they are in the, then what matters? Basically Bahubali and Ballal, they were able to break through the ranks, go to the other side, inspire their own soldiers ki in the face of an invasion you are not going to defend, but you are going to attack. And then finally Bahubali's individual brilliance, where he goes and actually kills Kalaki. So if you look at it, the at least it appeared to me that the original plan was of good defense. Okay, and to give the enemy a feeling कि इनको हम invade करके जीत नहीं सकते. But finally that war was going to end only when Kalkeya was going to be killed, and that happened because of great execution. We can also remember the battle that Baji Prabhu Deshpande had at Pawankhed. Okay, where the original plan was that Shivaji Maharaj should be given time so that he reaches Vishalgarh Fort. And once he reaches Vishalgarh Fort, there is going to be some cannons that will be blown to give Baji Prabhu a clear signal that Shivaji has reached and he can also follow Shivaji Maharaj. But what happened was very different. And what happened due to the individual brilliance and the people with Baji Prabhu, actually Shivaji Maharaj became safe, which was much beyond the plan. आपने शेरशाह मूवी में भी देखा रहेगा, Captain Vikram Batra in the Kargil War of 1999. Okay, when all the plans, when what they anticipate the enemy to do, what is happening, all that goes for a toss. Then laying down their life, they are able to protect that particular post. And as per the news, as per the information available to us, that was one of the most key incident of winning that overall Kargil war. Similarly, almost everybody is married over here. So अब सब जानते हैं कि मैरिज इज अ प्लान, और बाद में जो भी होता है वो पूरा एग्जीक्यूशन है. सो गेटिंग मैरिड ऑन अ ऑस्पिशियस डेट विद अ पर्सन ऑफ योर चॉइस रेयरली लीड्स टू सक्सेस इन मैरिड लाइफ. ओके, बाद में अगर अच्छा एग्जीक्यूशन फॉलो होता है तो पीपल कैन सेलिब्रेट देयर सिल्वर जुबिली एंड व्हाट नॉट. और अगर नहीं होता है तो एटलीस्ट इन द लास्ट डिकेड वी हैव सीन all kinds of problems that arise. So this was the emphasis that I wanted to put on the fact that execution is not something which is just one of the elements. Finally, what matters is only execution. Finally, कोई भी चीज अगर अचीव हुई है तो एग्जीक्यूशन से हुई है. If something did not get achieved, then it did not get achieved due to lack of good execution. Many times we can look at the other side of the coin. Many times what happens is the planning and strategy is perfect, but if the execution is poor, nothing happens. So that is what is meant by execution, successful execution. Now let us bring the context of Bhagavad Gita. Now in Bhagavad Gita, there's a lot of emphasis on karma. In fact, Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who wrote the Gita Rahasya as an important interpretation of Bhagavad Gita, ड्यूरिंग हिज डेज इन मंडाला जेल, उन्होंने भी कर्म योग पे ही फोकस किया था। ओके, इसका मतलब ये होता है कि वन ऑफ द वेरी की important facets of the Bhagavad Gita, which it stresses upon for people of all ages, is the karma yoga. Now, what is karma? सो काफी बार हमें लगता है कि कुछ एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए एक प्लान लगता है, फिर उस प्लान के हिसाब से चलना होता है, फिर आगे होता है, पीछे होता है, प्लान चेंज करना होता है। बट लेट अस लुक एट द लार्जर पिक्चर। व्हेन गॉड क्रिएटेड दिस यूनिवर्स, व्हाट हैपेंड? So God has created this universe where a basic nature is karmic, which means we as beings, living beings, human beings, it is our basic nature to be in action. This is the core philosophy. Okay, the karma pradhan approach is coming from the God itself who created this universe. So it is not some responsibility that we take after a point of time when we become knowledgeable or we reach a certain age. So जैसे अगर छोटा बच्चा, who is in months old, but when he or she is hungry and it starts crying, that is also an action. जब उसका पेट भर जाता है तो वो सो जाता है कुछ घंटे के लिए, वो भी एक एक्शन है। सो वी आर नेवर मेंट नॉट टू बी इन एक्शन, एंड राइट फ्रॉम बर्थ वी आर डूइंग एक्शन। ओके, सो execution or karma or action is not something as something that we wear after a point of time due to intellect or something. It is something that we are doing from birth till death. Now, let's move on to the important part which decides our karma as we grow is Swadharma. Swadharma of an individual or a community is the critical link between life's purpose and execution. So, we will begin by understanding what is Swadharma. So, it can be simply understood as the anchor or the guiding principle for karma or execution. It is the unwavering purpose which keeps us on the path of karma and does not allow us to drift. So let us for a minute spend time on the story of Parshuram, one of the avatars of Lord Vishnu. Okay. It's a classic example where when his father is killed by a very egoistic and bad king, he goes and avenges and kills him. But since उस टाइम पे चतुर्वर्ण बहुत क्लियर था, चतुर्वर्ण मीन्स द फोर types of people who were given specific responsibilities. So whether it was a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Now, if you see, Parshuram was a Brahman born to a Rishi. So, even after killing the king and all the people associated, and he was the ideal owner of that land, palace, and everything, he did not decide to rule it because he was a Brahman. And he felt that the Kshatriya should be ruling it. In fact, as per the story, he created a new land, piece of land, which is the Konkan belt today in Maharashtra, and over there he resided. So not only did he take over duties or did he take over what he was not supposed to be his Swadharma, but he didn't even stay on that land. So he did not try to become a ruler when he was supposed to be an intellectual Brahmin. We all know the example of Sri Ram across Ramayana, where he was the epitome of others' behavior and faultless in karma. ये मैं इसलिए बता रहा हूँ क्योंकि today the meaning of Swadharma is slightly got complicated, complex, and confusing. Okay, but if you want to have more clarity, it is always good for us to refer to our history. Sri Parshuram, Sri Ram is our history. Okay, so how they used to be clear of what to do. That is never attack an enemy first. But when he had to protect his wife, there was no option that if Ravan was not yielding, he had to be killed. Okay. Similarly, all the decisions that Sri Ram took were in line with his Swadharma. There was never any confusion what is to be done at what point of time. Similarly, we know about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, embedded Swadharma of Hindavi Swaraj right from his childhood, started practicing it since teenage and then with excellent execution right till the end of his life. He created, a Maratha kingdom at that time around the Deccan region. But later, it not only led, even after his death, the legacy was so great that it ended the Mughal Empire. And for about maybe 100 or 150 years, we were not under the invasion of anybody else. So, what are the outcome of a commitment to Swadharma? फर्स्ट इज स्थिर मनस्थिति, जैसे आपका माइंड क्लियर और स्टेबल रहता है, ये बहुत जरूरी है फॉर सीमलेस एग्जीक्यूशन। सेकंड, विवेक बुद्धि। विवेक बुद्धि का मतलब ये होता है कि वी कैन सिंपली से इंटेलेक्ट। नाउ दिस इंटेलेक्ट इज कैन बी इंटरप्रेटेड एज इंटेलेक्ट ऑफ चॉइस, ओके, दैट वी जनरली मेक द राइट चॉइसेस। Third important thing that arises, or attribute that arises out of Swadharma Palan, is Taratamya. Taratamya is balanced rational thinking. So we'll explain as we go forward. So what are the features of Swadharma which ends up deciding our effective execution? It should be the according to the inner strength, qualities or nature. मूल स्वभाव जिसको बोलते हैं उसके हिसाब से होना चाहिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अ फिश कैनॉट क्लाइंब अप अ ट्री. तो अगर फिश को गलती से उस काम में लगा दिया तो इट विल ऑलवेज बी अनसक्सेसफुल. ओके. It should match the responsibilities which is assigned to me by society, either as a result of birth or as a result of the career that you decide to take. So that is called दायित्व, what is given to you. Then which is willingly accepted by me, जैसे मैंने जिसका स्वीकार किया है. And fourth and most important, in कलयुग especially, cannot be against the society. मतलब मंगलमय होना जरूरी है. सो मूल स्वभाव के हिसाब से जो दायित्व आपको दिया है, जो स्वीकार आपने किया है और जो मंगलमय है. Now let's take an example of a teacher or a professor for understanding so that all of us quickly relate to that. अभी टीचर के मेन क्या डिलीवरेबल्स है या मेन रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी स्वधर्म क्या है. ओके. एंश्योर दैट ही और शी हैज अ गुड नॉलेज ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट, रियली गुड क्वालिटी नॉलेज. Ensures that the syllabus is completed during the tenure of that particular class. The quality of teaching should be standard across the time zones. The teacher should be able to address not only the high IQ students but also the average IQ students in that class. Now, if you see, at least from what we hear in the last decade or so, some of these attributes have been missing of teachers in schools and colleges. So many times they may not have an in-depth knowledge. The responsibility to complete the syllabus sometimes is not done. आधी चीजें homework में चली जाती है. Okay. The quality of teaching can be inconsistent when your knowledge is not of the highest quality. एंड मेनी टाइम्स दे आर एबल टू एड्रेस. मतलब इस तरह से सिखाया जाता है कि जो स्मार्ट है एनीवे समझ जाता है, जो स्मार्ट नहीं है उसको कंपल्सरीली क्लासेस करने पड़ते हैं. नाउ इफ यू सी द रिजल्ट, ऑलरेडी बंदा थोड़ा स्मार्ट नहीं है, वो स्कूल में भी 5-6 घंटे जा रहा है, उसको वापस 2-3 घंटे क्लास में भी जाना है, फिर सेल्फ स्टडी भी करना है. मतलब जिसको थोड़ा आईक्यू कम है उसको दिन में 10-12 घंटे स्कूल में पढ़ाई करनी है, मतलब स्कूल के एज में. सो दैट इट सेल्फ इज अ रेसिपी फॉर डिजास्टर. सो स्वधर्म विल डिसाइड द एग्जीक्यूशन पॉइंट्स ऑफ कर्मयोग, जैसे आपने अभी टीचर के बारे में देखा. गोइंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट. सो देर इज वन श्लोका दैट आई विल रिफर टू हियर. अध्याय 3, श्लोक 35. श्रेयान सर्वधर्मो विगुणः परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् स्वधर्मे निधनम श्रेयः परधर्मो भयावह. Now, in today's world, where a lot of times people take up careers, then there is a midlife crisis. For some people, there is a pre-midlife crisis. Then there is a post-midlife crisis. कि क्या करना है? Current area of work doesn't seem to be exciting enough. Current area of work is not remunerative enough. Okay, तो और कुछ करना है. It has also been given a golden word called hustle. कि आप ये नहीं तो वो करो, वो नहीं तो वो करो, कहीं ना कहीं तो आप सक्सेसफुल हो जाओगे. जो अपने पहले जनरेशन में शायद ऐसा था नहीं. जो एक बार डिसाइड हो गया, एक बार जो मैंने कमिटमेंट कर दी तो वही करते थे. ओके. सो ये श्लोक का मतलब ये है, बेटर इज वंस ओन ड्यूटी दो डिवॉइड ऑफ मेरिट देन द ड्यूटी ऑफ अनदर वेल डिस्चार्ज. बेटर इज डेथ इन वंस ड्यूटी, द ड्यूटी ऑफ अनदर इज फ्रॉट विथ फियर. अभी कहने का मतलब है कि लेट्स से इन अ कंपनी समबडी इज इन द सेल्स फंक्शन. ओके. 5, 6, 7, 8 साल हो गए, डे ऑन डे, ईयर ऑन ईयर, मंथ ऑन मंथ टारगेट्स लेने का. पहला टारगेट खत्म हुआ तो भी उसको सेलिब्रेट करने का भी टाइम नहीं मिलता है. तब तक अगले महीने की 2 तारीख आ जाती है एंड तुमको अगले महीने का टारगेट मिल जाता है विच इज बिगर देन द अर्लियर मंथ्स अचीवमेंट. ओके. सो चंद पलों की भी खुशी नहीं मिलती है. अभी ये सब में what is stated is that is happening because of lack of good knowledge and execution. अगर आपने आपके स्वधर्म के हिसाब से, आपके क्वालिफिकेशन के हिसाब से, आपके इनिशियल ईयर्स के हिसाब से यू हैव टेकन अप अ सर्टेन फील्ड with well thought over, then what needs to happen is continuous upgradation in your knowledge and execution, rather than उसको लगे कि सर्विस फंक्शन लाइक अ फाइनेंस या एचआर या आईटी, ये लोग तो एक जगह पे बैठे रहते हैं, इनको तो मंथली टारगेट्स नहीं है, इनको इतना प्रेशर नहीं है, इनके टीम्स में बहुत व्हाइट कॉलर काम होता है, सेल्स के फंक्शन में बहुत गंदी गंदी गालियां देते हैं. सो ऑल दैट इज जस्ट अ एस्केप रूट फ्रॉम नॉट ट्राइंग टू एक्सेल एंड गो टू द नेक्स्ट लेवल. Anybody who has to sustain a 3 to 4 decade career, okay, has to keep on upgrading. If that is not done, that is pure laziness. And just by switching a career when you are not able to do well in your chosen field will only lead to more failures. That is a more likely output or a probability. So from Sadharma, now let us come to Karma Yoga, which is one of the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. लोकेस्मिन् विविधा निष्ठा पुरा प्रोक्ता मया नघ ज्ञान योगेन सांख्यानां कर्म योगेन योगिना. This is the third slok of the third adhyaya. So here two yoga are stated. Sankhya Yoga. So Sankhya philosophy happened about even a few thousand years before the Bhagavad Gita happened. So the Bhagavad Gita gives due respect to it, that as per the Sankhya philosophy, there were certain knowledge which is relevant even today. So here it is categorized as Sankhya Yoga is the yoga of knowledge or Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga, as propounded in the Bhagavad Gita, is the yoga of action. Because if you remember, the Bhagavad Gita narration or those 700 shlokas have happened on the cusp of the war, where Arjun is refusing to pick up his bow and arrow and do the war which he is committed. So there is certainly an inclination towards karma yoga. Okay. So this shlok basically tells you that you can acquire as much knowledge as you want, but every knowledge is useful only if it is meant for action. That can be the underlying meaning. Then the fourth shlok of the third adhyaya says that the meaning, Madhitarth, is that irrespective of whichever knowledge stream you follow and whichever destination you want to choose, karma or execution should not be sacrificed. Okay, so again, the emphasis is on execution and action. Let's look at the fifth slok. Nahi kaschit shanamapi jatu tishthatya karma krita karyate ahyavesha karma sarva prakriti je gunaihi. Without doubt, any being cannot stay without doing karma for even a moment, because the actions are arising from qualities which are born out of his nature, referred to as the Prakriti Guna. He is compelled by nature. So, as we had touched upon this few minutes back, by nature, we are all supposed to be action oriented. So, for example, if you are feeling fearful, you have to take action. If your body is hurting, you have to attend to it. If you are feeling love towards someone, you have to act on it. Okay. There is nothing that the human mind is made to only think and forget. We are supposed to be action oriented. So only a knowledge or a feeling doesn't help. Karmendriyani संयम्य यास्ते मनसा स्मरन इंद्रियार्थान विमूढ़ात्मा मिथ्याचारः स उच्यते. That person is a fool and pretentious who keeps thinking about the body and what he wants materially, but controls himself and doesn't take action. Which means if you are hungry and you don't eat, it will affect your execution. So आपको जो भी चाहिए and which is in the right path, उसके लिए action तो करना पड़े. So you can look at the kind of emphasis on action and karma that is provided in the Bhagavad Gita. Let's look at the ninth slok of the third adhyaya. यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोन्यत्र लोकोयम कर्म बंधनः तदर्थम कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्त संग समाचर. So over here, the yajnartha vritti towards karma is mentioned. Means don't be selfish, don't put yourself first, your likes and convenience and requirements first. You look at, behave like a corporate manager in life, where you should work for the company, the common goal first. Then you look at the team's interests, and automatically you should have the belief that this will lead to you achieving what you want to achieve. Let's continue. And the most important now shlok, you can say, shlok number 22 of the third adhyaya. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nana vaptavyam varta evacha karmi. So Sri Krishna himself, the Bhagavan Sri Vishnu, is telling Arjuna, hey Arjuna, I have nothing left to achieve in these three words, but still I do karma. So the one who created this universe and every being and managing everything, who has no needs and wants, is also action oriented. So what prevents us from being good in action, execution, and karma when we have many important needs like artha, dharma, moksha? Now let's look at some of the important guidance we have on the few shlokas you can say. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. So sukarma is always the best yoga or the deed. Kaushalam is expertise, and mangalam is which helps society and gives you returns. So if you have a choice between opening a liquor factory versus opening an educational institution, then it is goes without saying that what should be given a precedence. Then yogakshemam vahamyam. So Sri Krishna himself is saying vahamyaham that I am taking the entire responsibility, but yoga, you have to perform your actions and achieve what you don't have now. And kshemam means कहीं पे calmness रख के retain what you have already achieved. Now let us look at some of the elements of the Trigunatmak nature of human beings, and then interpret it according to the execution excellence. So as per Sankhya philosophy, which was explained by Kapil Muni, there are 24 attributes to human nature and existence. It emphasizes Triguna, which define the nature and actions of every human being. Every being is Trigunatmak in nature, and everybody is taking actions. However, a sattvic person will be able to have excellent execution skills since he or she is supposed to be endowed with the following qualities. A sattvic person is courageous, has control over the organs and senses, has a lack of ego, he is rooted and always remembers his swadharma, has friendly in nature to be able to get work done with others and through others, has a high degree of shraddha in God and Guru. Now, these have been described by Sri Krishna as the essential attributes for good karma, which we can translate as successful execution in life. Now, as we know, the three gunas are sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, and all are action oriented. But the actions and the results differ vastly. Swadharma helps to decide which karma. Swadharma avoids time being spent on excessive planning and guides karma path effortlessly, avoids distractions. Why are sattvic actions recommended? Because sattvic actions is recommended by the God Himself, and those are the actions which generally will not allow you to waver on the path of execution. कोई भी चीज को चालू करना बहुत आसान रहता है, but taking it to the logical conclusion, and as we said, there are many events, many achievements of people which far outdid the plan. उसके लिए सात्विक होना जरूरी है. Taमसिक actions क्या होते हैं? They are generally, marked by ignorance, laziness, ego, and shortcuts for results. So should be avoided. Why? Because the moment you take any actions with a tamasic nature or with a tamas gun, okay, most likely either you are going to underachieve or you are going to achieve something else than what you set out to be. So it will clearly go into the category of bad execution. दूसरी बात एक द वर्ड दैट हैज बीन डूइंग द राउंड्स फॉर द कास्ट कपल ऑफ डिकेड्स कॉल्ड प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन. ओके, तो प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन और तमस गुण ये एकदम करीब है. ओके, मतलब टाइम पास कैसे करने का, दिया हुआ काम कैसे नहीं करने का. अगर आपके पास 8 घंटे है तो आखिरी आधे घंटे में कुछ तो जुगाड़ करके कैसे ट्राई टू कंप्लीट इट इज ऑल कैन बी एट्रीब्यूटेड टू बीइंग तामसिक इन नेचर. तो अगर उसको अवॉइड करना है तो बी सात्विक and be well planned and good at execution. Also, sattvic actions focus on the larger good. It focuses on execution rather than greed for the results. The rajasic action focuses on individual good and greed. Okay, तो उससे क्या होता है कि जनरली आपका व्यू होता है वो बहुत नैरो होता है and it will generally not lead to very high success in execution. एक स्वार्थी आदमी के साथ एक टाइम के बाद लोग रहते नहीं. ऐसे मेनी टाइम्स इन कंपनीज इन बिजनेसेस पीपल से दैट जब लोग बोलते हैं कि मैं ये सिर्फ पैसों के लिए नहीं कर रहा, तो कलयुग में हमें काफी बार लगता है कि ये बोलने के लिए बोल रहा है. बट ओनली दोज एंडिवर्स विच आर डन beyond only money or status or position, they go on for a long time and they are successful beyond your regular materialistic achievements और tangible achievements. So उसी के लिए आपको सात्विक की तरफ होना जरूरी है. तामसिक बेसिकली ट्राइज टू अवॉइड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. ओके. तो जैसे there's a boy whose marriage is done. There are 2 3 generations staying in the family. The various generations are generally at loggerheads and quarreling with each other. लेकिन वो अपनी कभी जिम्मेदारी समझता नहीं है कि उनके साथ उनको सब एक दूसरे का पर्सपेक्टिव दे के ही नेवर फील्स दैट ही इज एट द सेंटर ऑफ द कंट्रोवर्सी एंड इट इज माय रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू डू a good execution of relationships and communication between all the parties involved. Okay. And many such examples we had seen in our session in communication. Wherever people try to abruptly announce some life changes, where people try to not prepare the other person's mind for accepting the communication, that all leads to. आप समझो, अगर किसी को आपका कम्युनिकेशन ही नहीं समझ में आया, अगर किसी को ये समझ में नहीं आया आप जो बात कर रहे हैं क्यों बात कर रहे हैं, तो उसका बाद में आपका को एग्जीक्यूशन कितना अच्छा होगा या कितना खराब होगा. देयर इज नथिंग लेफ्ट टू इमेजिनेशन. So the best results are achieved when we do not focus on results and we focus on process excellence. The 5 elements of karma are Adhishtan, which is foundation, Karta, which is doer, Cheshta, which is efforts, Karana, or instruments or tools, and Daivi Sampad, which is dependent on the type of karma and God's wish. इसीलिए जो पहले 4 है एलिमेंट्स, उस पर फोकस करना बहुत जरूरी है, सो दैट टू क्वाइट एन एक्सटेंट दे आर कंट्रोलेबल बाय यू एंड यू कैन कीप ऑन एक्सेलिंग देयर. द फिफ्थ इज एनीवे नॉट इन योर कंट्रोल, सो इट इज बेटर टू फोकस ऑन प्रोसेस एक्सेलेंस एंड नॉट ऑन द रिजल्ट. इसका मतलब ये होता है. Now let us look at few of the keys for good execution as directly given in Bhagavad Gita in the chapter 4. So chapter 4 or Adhyay 4, 14. न माम कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्म फले स्पृहा इति माम यो भी जानाति कर्म भिर्नन स बाध्यते बध्यते. Execution should happen with focus on work and not on results. This is the first key to effective execution. Focus on results tends to be the main distraction for execution excellence. To give a very simple example, अगर आपको कुछ टारगेट मिला है, ओके, और आप पहले दिन से whether you will think of the target or whether you will look at the tools keys to achieve it will decide whether you will be successful. अगर आप सिर्फ टारगेट के बारे में सोचते रहोगे तो there is very little chance that you will actually do it well. Okay, जैसे 2 चीजें होती है, doing something and doing it well. If you look at the 7th slok from the 4th adhyay, they have explained the meaning of सुकर्म, विकर्म, अकर्म. इसका मतलब ये है कि फॉर दिस इज द सेकंड की टू एग्जीक्यूशन, विच मीन्स जैसे आपको एग्जैक्टली क्या करना है वो पता होना चाहिए, वैसे जो नहीं करना है वो भी पता होना चाहिए. और अकर्म किसको बोलते हैं, मतलब व्हेन आर यू एक्चुअली नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग, ये भी पता होना चाहिए. To give an example, I don't know whether everybody agrees to this or not, but let us look at what now reports are coming about Bollywood or the Hindi film industry. Okay, abhi they have excessively focused on the look and feel of the movies, and there is a lot of nepotism. So these are facts, I guess. So there should not be any controversy. But in the last decade or so, they have not paid much attention to the content. Okay. सो दिस इज वन एग्जाम्पल कि आपको डूज भी पता होने चाहिए, डोंट्स भी पता होने चाहिए, और आपको व्हाट लीड्स टू अकर्म वो भी पता होना चाहिए. तो इतना नेपोटिज्म करके यू आर नॉट अलाउिंग द रियल टैलेंट टू कम and do well. That was the akarma. Okay. Vikarma was just focusing on designing. Okay. The look, feel, and the same characters moving around, same types of themes. And Sukarma, obviously, they didn't know that content is king. So the reason is that is why so many OTT platforms have so much viewership in crores and crores. That is why now there is most of the talented actors have got very good roles in the series on OTT, and they are happy, and a complete ecosystem and an industry has got formed there with good money, good roles, good acting, and the public is also preferring that. Now let us look at the third and essential key which is given in the 41st shlok of the 4th adhyay. Very important because this is all about team spirit and this is all about commitment and shraddha. Once a decision and planning are done, there should not be skepticism and questioning about the objective and goal again and again. So I used to have bosses in my corporate career, वो categorically बोलते थे कि जो भी है 31 मार्च तक जितना चाहिए झगड़ा करो, जितने बार चाहिए बजट चेंज करो, जितनी बार चाहिए प्लान चेंज करो, लेकिन once the year starts, once the day one, the first मुहूर्त of your execution starts, उसके बाद जो भी वापस प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करेगा उसको मैं टीम के बाहर फेंक दूँ. So the budgeting used to start on 15th Jan. We had time till 15th March. So budgeting, business plan, this plan, that plan, उसमें 20 प्लान बना के एक एनुअल बजट बनता था. तो डिबेट करो, मारामारी करो, यूज टू बी टेकन 3-4 days इन अ रिसोर्ट टू डू ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग, डिसएग्री, जो भी करना है. बट वंस द डे ऑफ एग्जीक्यूशन स्टार्ट्स, ओके, एंड इट्स अ लॉन्ग 365 डे ईयर, ओके, इस चीज के लिए मैं जरा भी स्कोप नहीं दूंगा एंड इट कैन कॉस्ट यू योर जॉब. So it's just like the army. In the army, when a commander tells his troops fire, उसके बाद एक भी आदमी सोचना नहीं चाहिए. That is meant by seamless execution. अगर 10 में से 2 लोग सोचते बैठ गए, that can be enough to lose a battle. This is the third successful key to execution. So I'll repeat the three that we had so far. The first was focus on the work, process excellence, and execution, and not only on the results. The second was knowing what is to be done, what is not to be done, and what amounts to doing completely something which is not required, useless, wasted. The third key is once a decision and planning is done, and once you are on the execution ground, there should not be any questioning about the decision and planning. And then we look at the 12th shlok of the chapter 9, which is all about meaningless action, false hopes, wasted knowledge by eccentric people. श्री कृष्ण कॉल्स दीज डेमोनिक टेंडेंसीज और एविल इंक्लिनेशंस. मतलब आपका जब एक्शन भी मीनिंगलेस है, होप्स भी फॉल्स है, और आपका नॉलेज भी एक वेस्टेड नॉलेज है, जैसा आपको जो चाहिए वो नॉलेज है नहीं और आप किसी और चीज को ही अपना नॉलेज बना के घूम रहे हो, सो दैट इज कंसिडर्ड बाय श्री कृष्ण एज अ डेमोनिक टेंडेंसी विच यू शुड नॉट हैव. And last but not the least, just like the second shlok of the 12th Adhyaya says, that Shraddha in God while doing karma makes you a great karma yogi. Just like after you get into the zone of execution, you should not look back and question the objective and goal. Any team, any company, any political party, any any community which achieved anything, they had a lot of faith in their leader and the association. Nothing can be achieved unless there is faith. The human mind, the human being is bound to have shraddha on something. So not having it at the wrong place but having it in the right leader is the first key to ensuring को आपको एग्जीक्यूशन के बाद कंफ्यूजन नहीं होगा, एग्जीक्यूशन चालू होते वक्त आपका माइंड वेवरिंग नहीं होगा, एंड यू आर एबल टू फॉलो ऑल द थ्री कीज. आपको कभी भी डाउट होगा तो आप एक बार लीडर को पूछोगे, जो आपको डायरेक्टिव मिलेगा दैट विल बी क्लियर फॉर यू. Now let us look at the next few minutes of some contemporary discussion on execution. Okay, and what is it? Okay, so you know आज का लैंडस्केप क्या है कंपेयर टू से 30 years बैक. ओके, कंटिन्यूअस इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डिवाइसेस, मोबाइल्स है, रील्स है, सोशल मीडिया है, ओटीटी है. फोकस कैसे आएगा जब अटेंशन स्पैन कम होती जा रहा है? इतना ही काफी नहीं है. ओके, people want to have an aspirational lifestyle, okay, and not a peaceful lifestyle. मतलब 3 बिजनेस आइडियाज पे साथ में काम करना है, 8 डील्स क्रैक करने हैं, एक मैराथन में भी पार्टिसिपेट करना है, फेमस वेकेशन स्पॉट पे जाना है और सैकड़ों पिक्स अपलोड करने हैं, कोई पार्टी मिस नहीं करनी है, जिम में भी जाना है. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड ऑलमोस्ट लाइक अ ओसीडी. ओके, इट्स अ सिंड्रोम कि वेयर you want to look the best. Okay, what will happen generally? You will do the worst. But what is the reason that people overestimate what they can do or what they can commit to before they start doing? Simple. एक तो peer pressure, और दूसरा the feel good factor is more important than what actually gets achieved. So basically वो जो फीलिंग रहता है कि मैं 10 चीजें कर रहा हूँ, मैं चार चीजें कर रहा हूँ, मेरे 200 दोस्त है, ओके, देन आई एम ऑन LinkedIn as well as Insta as well as Twitter as well as Facebook as well as I think every year new platform will come which will demand your attention, तो मैं ये भी कर सकता हूँ. What happens as a result of all this is actually nothing gets done well. Okay, it gets overwhelming after a point of time due to lack of results, and what it leads to is another vicious cycle of overcommitments. मतलब जिमिंग इज अ वेरी गुड एग्जाम्पल. ओके, एवरी फर्स्ट या सेकंड जैन को द सिंड्रोम इज द हाईएस्ट कि आपको एनुअल जिम मेंबरशिप लेनी ही है. 10,000, 20,000, 1 लाख कहीं पे जाके भरने हैं आदमी को. उसका पेट, उसका जो वेट ज्यादा है वो वैसा ही है, लेकिन वो जाके पैसे भर के आए. एंड एन एवरेज, दिस इज एक्चुअली स्टैटिस्टिक्स आई एम टेलिंग यू, 10 जनवरी तक ये सिंड्रोम खत्म हो जाता है. वो वापस अगले साल के 2 जनवरी को ही जाता है. So why this happens is because for the entire year, this person is not going to go to the gym. Execution is going to be zero, and there is a peer pressure, and there is going to be only planning. Another important part is what do successful people, successful executors do? They have mastered the art of saying no. Effective planning और execution तभी realistic होता है when हमें ये पता होता है कि when we are saying yes to something, what kind of commitment it is, और उसका मतलब है कि कितनी दूसरे चीजों को मुझे ना बोलना पड़ेगा. बट लोग उल्टा करते हैं. लोगों को लगता है कि आई वॉन्ट टू बिल्ड अ रिलायबल रेपुटेशन, तो मैं जो भी मेरे को कोई पूछे सबको हाँ बोल दे, उससे मेरा रेपुटेशन अच्छा बनेगा. बट एक्चुअली वो बैकफायर करते हैं. इट लीड्स टू कंप्लीट लैक ऑफ क्रेडिबिलिटी बिकॉज जनरली दीज पीपल डोंट रीच एनीवेयर ऑफ टाइम. For them, a few things clash where they have to be present at the same time. So every day they are telling at least 2 3 people how they cannot meet the commitment due to something else. जनरली इनके घर में लोग बीमार गिरते रहते हैं, जबकि वो एक्चुअली बीमार नहीं है, लेकिन वो एक्सक्यूज एक चलते रहता है. ओके, जनरली वो खुद के भी हेल्थ अच्छी नहीं रहती है, बिकॉज ये बताना पड़ता है लोगों की वो कहाँ क्यों नहीं पहुंच सकते. सो ये सबसे क्या होता है कि basically when you what you are doing is you are doing too many commitments and you are doing less, so automatically you are going to become a poor executor and even the few things that you actually want to do. Okay, आपकी brain और body is not wired to keep on switching on and off between activities. उससे सिर्फ वो sluggish होता है और efficiency कम होती है. So multitasking is actually a myth. Okay, multitasking means आपको 1 घंटे में अगर आप 10 काम करना चाहते हो, 10 अलग अलग काम, और ऐसे 10 घंटे आप एक दिन में करना चाहते हो, तो द ह्यूमन माइंड एंड द बॉडी इज नॉट वायर्ड फॉर दैट. वी द efficiency generally for any task comes after spending 15 minutes in it at least, and then it keeps on going up, and after some time it again comes down. So it is very necessary that we understand that multitasking should only be a necessity in extreme situations. Okay, but it should not become a way of life where you are doing too many things at the same time, or you are giving so less time to each task that actually you are not able to focus on anything and not get to a level of efficiency needed. इससे और क्या होता है, it leads to stress and it leads to lots of mental issues which translate into health issues at an early age. Then another thing I would like to, an angle that I would like to share is हमारे पास दो टाइप के काम हमेशा रहते हैं. एक एग्जीक्यूटिव लेवल के टास्क और एक मैनेजर लेवल के टास्क. मीन्स एग्जीक्यूटिव मतलब कि आपको पता है कि उधर जाके ये करना है, इसके ये 3 स्टेप्स है, ये किया तो वो काम हो जाएगा इतने टाइम में. एंड देन मैनेजरियल लेवल टास्क वो होते हैं कि मैनेजिंग द किचन ऑफ योर हाउस. ओके, इज अ मैनेजरियल लेवल टास्क. बट एक पर्टिकुलर डे को जाके ग्रोसरीज लाना इज अ एग्जीक्यूटिव लेवल टास्क. सो मैनेजरियल लेवल टास्क कभी खत्म नहीं होने वाला है, और एग्जीक्यूटिव लेवल टास्क हमेशा एफिशिएंटली खत्म होने वाला है अगर वैसे किया तो. सो जनरली पीपल शुड प्लान their days in such a way that a particular day should be given to executive tasks and a particular day should be given to managerial tasks. और अगर आपके प्लानिंग के हिसाब से आपके एग्जीक्यूटिव टास्क उस दिन के जल्दी खत्म हो गए, so you try to do more executive tasks that are planned rather than getting into more managerial tasks. Because the moment you try to shift between those two types of tasks, there is going to be a lot of inefficiency और दोनों टाइप के टास्क सफर होने वाले. Then, another important aspect is for the managerial tasks, good interpretation and interpersonal skills are required. So, good communication, good interpretation of others' communication, your internal language not being so loud that you are not able to absorb what is happening around you, all this is needed. So, ये भगवत गीता में समाज सन्मुखता गाइडेंस में कवर किया हुआ है, where the best way is to have a यज्ञार्थ वृत्ति, where you put others' interest first, you take care of others, and then you expect that you will be cared for. This is the way human beings are supposed to perform. This is the way they are supposed to think and act. Now let's come to an important part which cannot be missed is discipline and procrastination. Okay. Procrastination matlab आलसीपना. Just keep on putting things off to the next hour, to the next day, to the next month, to the next year. Okay. तो दीज आर टू साइड्स ऑफ द सेम कॉइन. मतलब जैसे हम लोग किसी भी स्पोर्ट में टॉस के लिए जब कॉइन उड़ाते हैं तो जनरली वो एक ही साइड पर लैंड होता है और एक ही नतीजा होता है. सो जनरली वेयर देर इज डिसिप्लिन देयर कैनॉट बी प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन, एंड वेयर देर इज प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन देयर कैनॉट बी डिसिप्लिन. हेड्स आया तो हेड्स ही रहेगा, टेल्स आया तो टेल्स ही रहेगा. सो नो मैटर हाउ मोटिवेटेड यू आर, व्हाट क्लैरिटी यू हैव अबाउट द गोल, what great skills you are, it all boils down to discipline. Once you are disciplined, there is no concept of hard work, because it is only committing to a plan which has already been decided. Hard work as a language concept is only for tamasic people. मतलब जिसको बिस्तर से बाहर निकलना भी एक काम है, उसको कपड़े पहन के बाहर जाना ऑफिस में भी एक काम है, उसके लिए सब कुछ हार्ड वर्क है. बट फॉर डिसिप्लिन पर्सन इट इज अ वे ऑफ लाइफ. इट इज सर्टनली नॉट हार्ड वर्क और मैं कितना थक गया, आई एम कैरिंग द एंटायर वर्ल्ड्स लोड, ऐसा कभी लगेगा नहीं. So whenever there is discipline, there cannot be laziness and putting things off to the next day. The moment you are used to doing things on time, it becomes a habit. And as we all know, there have been so many books where habits is what finally matters. जिस आदमी को 7 बजे उठने की हैबिट है, वो 7:15 को उठना ही मुश्किल है. और उसको आप कितना भी लेक्चर दो कि अर्ली राइजर्स आर बिग अचीवर्स, वो 5 बजे उठेगा तो बीमार हो जाता है. ओके, सो इट इज so difficult to change a habit. So discipline should be a habit rather than relying for external motivation to get things done for execution. And now the last 1 minute concept, जो हमने शुरू में बात की थी कि हम लाइफ में क्या बनना चाहते हैं. ओके, एवरीबडी हैज अप्रोच टुवर्ड्स व्हाट वी वांट टू बिकम. और इसमें एग्जीक्यूशन आएगा, इसमें हैबिट्स आएगा, उसमें स्वधर्म आएगा, उसमें नॉट हैविंग प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन आएगा, उसमें सुकर्म विकर्म अकर्म आएगा, सत्व आएगा, रजस आएगा, तमस आएगा. बट सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट, ओके, व्हाट वी कॉल एज गुड टू ग्रेट. ओके, द प्रूफ ऑफ सक्सेसफुल एग्जीक्यूशन लाइज इन ग्रेट अचीवमेंट. अगर प्लान के हिसाब से काम हुआ तो दैट कैनॉट बी कॉल्ड एज ग्रेट एग्जीक्यूशन. तो सबसे पहले हमें डिसाइड करना है कि लाइफ में या इन ऑल आवर एंडिवर्स वेदर वी वांट टू बिकम गुड एग्जीक्यूटर्स और ग्रेट एग्जीक्यूटर्स. तो जो गुड होता है वो उतना ही करने की कोशिश करता है जो प्लान्ड है और उससे कम करता है. सो व्हेन द्रोणाचार्य वाज आस्क्ड बाय ऑल हिज pupils who are very jealous of अर्जुन कि आपने हमेशा आप अर्जुन की इतनी तारीफ करते हो, आप हमेशा बात करते हो कि अर्जुन इज सो ग्रेट, हमने कुछ नहीं किया क्या, हमको भी उतना ही आता है, या हम आपके ही शिष्य हैं. हिज आंसर वॉज वेरी सिंपल. आप लोग सबका अप्रोच ऐसा है कि द्रोणाचार्य इज ग्रेट, द्रोणाचार्य से ग्रेटेस्ट कोई नहीं है, और द्रोणाचार्य जो सिखाएंगे वो हमें आना चाहिए. आप प्रैक्टिस भी उतनी ही करते हो, ध्यान भी उतना ही देते हो, एग्जीक्यूशन भी उतना ही करते हो. वॉट अर्जुना डज इज, in a jiffy, he tries and understand and practice what Dronacharya is teaching, and then for hours and hours he practices all beyond that. That is why that is considered great and not good. So, and greatness can be planned. Great execution can be planned. Again, it can be a habit, a way of life. So आप देखोगे जैसे हमने बाहुबली का एग्जाम्पल लिया, शिवाजी महाराज का, all the great things happened because of great execution, and they didn't just want to meet some administrative plan. Okay, and all of us have a very long career, a very long personal life, relations of 4 to 5 decades. after the 20s. Okay, so इसमें it's always good to become great at execution rather than good. वो बोलते हैं ना कि if you keep a high target, then you might achieve something normal. But if you keep an average target, you are likely to underachieve in a big way. So that's it from me as far as effective execution skills are concerned. Thanks for your patience, and over to Rishi now.